What it do, Snackers, Snack Cats, and Snack X's? It's your boy Gage. I'm here with the homie Jokes,
Yo, yo.
and you are now tuned into Loading Snacks Weekly, where we get together once a week and we talk about things that are happening in pop culture. And
Today,
today, the D23 news is bananas. It's bananas. We have so much to talk about. So we're gonna talk about D23, and we're gonna hustle through a lot of the announcements from there.
yeah.
But we're definitely gonna talk about the X-Men cast announcement. We may sneak a look at a trailer or two. Talk about the movies and the TV shows that were announced. There was a lot. There was definitely a lot
It
of
was a
that.
lot.
We're gonna talk about this actually was a little older. We're gonna talk about the cancellation of the Power Rangers show from Disney. And we're gonna talk about our thoughts on the first episode of Lanterns, which premiered earlier in the week. So we'll give you a rundown of how we feel about that before we get into a couple of other things. Before we make that happen, Jokes has a job to do.
Yep.
So Jokes will get the link to our website up so you can check that out, see what we have going on, what we've been doing, what we're going to be doing, and so forth. And find the best ways to follow us and support us, which would include our Instagram, and of course, here on YouTube or on Twitch or on Facebook, or at Patreon, which is really one of the best ways to support us. If you can do so monetarily, definitely helps us, keeps things going. And on that note, it's time for the 619 Patreon Hall of Fame. Jokes.
Yeah, so let's shout out our top tier patrons, starting with Anthony Cunningham, Marcus Houston, Susan Dortch, Tyrone Carson, Meticulous Skin, Alex Lee, Ellis Mbe, and Kermit Ferguson. Thank you very much. We truly, truly appreciate it.
Indeed, we do, as we always will. Jokes.
Yes, sir.
It's time for hashtag WHHW, which of course is what had happened was, which of course is last week's news, which of course is over there somewhere. We're going to grab it, hold it close so we can bring it to you. Hook me up.
Number one.
My good man Jokes, D23 happened this past weekend. For those of you who are unfamiliar with what D23 is, and I can't imagine that many of you who are watching this show are, but just in case, D23 is basically Disney's company convention where it's almost like their own Comic-Con. It is their opportunity to not only actually give, because there's a lot of stuff for fans to do and see at D23. At least there is now, and there's some controversy around that. We're not getting into that right now. But essentially, think of it as like a Comic-Con that is specifically Disney focused, Disney and all their properties, and giving information on, or a heads up on, the things that are in progress or are upcoming, stuff they're working on, that kind of stuff. So it's a huge place for announcements and that kind of jazz. What's up, man? So so D23 is a big deal, and it is the kind of thing that, even though San Diego Comic-Con just passed and there were all kinds of announcements there, this is their own show, and this is where they control the media cycle, and don't have to compete really with anyone else for the news and media around the things that they have going on. And let me tell you, there is so much going on at Disney. They have so many properties. They own so much IP. Jokes. It's
crazy.
It's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous. Like the list I'm looking at in front of me of things that I just need to say about what was announced or discussed at D23 is ridiculously long. Requires scrolling And I didn't even put everything in there. But here's what I want to do. Because of what this show is, we're going to focus on what I personally think is the biggest announcement out of D23, which is the announcement of the cast for the X-Men film for the MCU. So, um, on stage, Kevin Feige and the director, Jake
Mm-hmm.
Schreier, who is also the director of Thunderbolts,
Mm-hmm.
um, brought out Sadie Sink, who we were already familiar with from Spider
Mm-hmm.
Man. If you don't know by now, Sadie Sink is Jean Grey. There you have it.
It's been long enough now.
If you were wondering where she was going at the end of Spider Man Brand New Day, there it is. Don't think it gets any trickier than that. So, what we have, if you look, we're gonna swap out here.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Storm,
Mm-hmm.
played by Maya Boyd. We have Indy Navarrete, who is playing Rogue. We have Samara Weaving, who is playing Emma Frost, aka the White Queen. We have Christopher Abbott, who is playing Professor X. We have Kit Connor, who is playing Cyclops. And then next to him, you see Jake Schreier, who's a director, next to Sadie Sink. So that is your cast for X-Men. And then there was one additional
Mm-hmm.
person who was announced, which was Adam Driver, who was not physically there, but there was a video they showed on the screen of Adam Driver, who it was announced to be playing Mr. Sinister. Jokes, what are your first thoughts?
I'm good with it. Like, honestly, I'm not familiar with pretty much any of the cast currently. So new faces for me. Like I know what's her face is playing Storm. You know, I know she was very prominent on Broadway and she did a lot of stuff there.
Right, Maya
Um,
Boyd. Yep.
but outside of that, I know nothing really about the cast, which for me, I really like. Adam Driver, obviously the biggest of everyone in there playing Mr. Sinister. I, I kind of see him in that wheelhouse. So I'm not upset. And even if I didn't necessarily like the casting, I would obviously give it a chance anyway. Well, I'm going to see it one way or the other. But
Right.
I like the fact that we've gone with not necessarily everyone having a full-on name for themselves. So this is kind of a way for them to establish themselves a little bit further, probably into their careers. Um, Clearly, it's going to be a fresh slate. So depending on like, we'll see how they work that in with the MCU. Um, Obviously we're getting Doomsday, which is kind of going to reset probably a lot of the stuff that we're going to see. So probably their introductions are going to make a little more sense once we see the end results of Doomsday. But otherwise, I'm perfectly fine with the cast.
Do you think any of these people besides Sadie Sink are going to show up in Doomsday?
Maybe one or two.
Remember that this movie again. Let
Mm-hmm.
me just pop this up here with the date, the release date
Mm-hmm.
for this movie. Which, look, all rights reserved. These dates can change as
Yep.
Disney, Marvel, MCU tends to do. But right now, May 5th, 2028
Mm-hmm.
is the release date, and it is currently based on the schedule and the slate. The movie that is coming out for the MCU right after
The Doomsday.
Doomsday. Um, I'm sorry. Secret War, not Doomsday. Secret War. So
Mm.
we'll see what that means.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't think they'll show up in Doomsday. Do they show up in Secret War?
I think so. I mean,
Okay.
Doomsday, they could, there could be a tease of at least one. I don't think they would go full on out trying to, especially with X Men now just getting under production. I don't know if they would necessarily try to take the time to probably pull one or two of them away to be able to do Doomsday. Could be like an after credit type of thing, but I think Secret Wars is probably where we see them definitely showing up.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I'm with it. Look, I don't really have issues with this cast or the choices for the cast.
Mm-hmm.
I've said many times on this show that I don't really want a rehashing or a
Mm-hmm.
retelling of the same old original X-Men. So looking at this team, okay, we have another Storm,
Mm-hmm.
another Jean Grey, another Cyclops. We do have a new Rogue, which Rogue is an exception to the rule in my opinion with this case, because we never really got the proper Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
And the rumors are that in Secret War, this Rogue will come, or in a Captain Marvel 3, this Rogue will come across Captain Marvel and will get the
Get her
full Rogue
hands
power
on.
set. So we'll see. I mean, if that happens. Clearly it's a thing that could happen.
100%.
Now that they have control of both characters within the same universe, under the same banner. So that's exciting because that puts a twist on it.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting that we know that the old X-Men cast is going to be in Doomsday,
Mm-hmm.
but that we have a Gambit that never existed in that world, but is coming from the Deadpool universe, and
Mm-hmm.
we don't have a Gambit for this. Rogue is an outlier to this list of
Mm-hmm.
names to some extent, as is the White Queen, Emma Frost. We don't know what side of the fence Emma Frost is on. She
Mm-hmm.
is an X-Man sometimes, but
At
she tends
points.
to be against them quite often. So it remains to be seen. They may have
Mm-hmm.
introduced us to a secondary villain
And we
or
just
something, and
don't.
she may
Yeah.
not be one of the core X-Men. And in my experience, generally, you don't have Professor X and Emma Frost on the X-Men team at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we're going into a new world. Right now, I'm trying to trust Feige. I think it's cool that we got the announcement and that we know who the people are going to be and that we don't have to speculate. But if I had to wager, there are probably 2 or 3 more actors and announcements that are coming
I will agree with that.
between now and probably Secret War, but it may not happen until after that. So we'll see. I think there's some more announcements coming. Now, having got that out of the way, we got to talk about. I just kind of need to go through the list
I-
of what they did. So, like, 4 movies, we got a new teaser / trailer that was more Doom related for Doomsday.
mm-hmm.
We got Zootopia 3. We got a new Simpsons movie. So a
Yep.
second Simpsons movie. Frozen 3, Coco 2, Incredibles 3, Hexed, a new Ice Age.
What is this? 15?
Ice Age Boiling Point, probably. A new Pixar film called Ghost Market, a live action Tangled, a new animated film called Clay, Lilo and Stitch 2 live action.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, a Romy and Michelle 2. Now you look like you have no idea what
Nope.
that is.
Never watched it.
Never watched it, but you know what Romy and Michelle is, right?
Nope.
Look it up right now and then report
Right
back
now?
to me. Yes, right
Oh,
now,
man.
and report back to me while I move on to TV. We got a trailer for Vision Quest, which
Yes.
we won't watch here, but we will in the Put a Pin in It podcast. We got a announcement of a Kingdom Hearts TV show, animated show. Percy Jackson season 3, a new Oswald the Rabbit
Mm-hmm.
animated show, Scrubs season 2, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man season 2. Let me tell you something. Do yourself the favor and go watch that first season. It's so good. It's so good. It's so well done. Very different from your standard Peter Parker Spider-Man story. It's a yeah. And a trailer for Ahsoka season 2. Boy, let me tell you something. Guess we'll take a look at that later as well. There was a lot jokes.
Was.
Obviously outside of the X-Men cast, clearly I've mentioned a lot of things. Is there anything else that stood out to you, or was
No,
a
I think
surprise?
you.
Simpsons was a surprise for me. Ice
Mm,
Age was a surprise for me for sure. Um, Frozen 3.
I always knew that was coming. I'm excited for Frozen 3. I got on the Frozen bandwagon late, but once I got on that, I never got off of it. So, but if one for me though, like as much as I love Frozen, The Incredibles 3, like I hate it's taken so long to finally get to the second one, and now we get into the third one. But they gave us just the little brief synopsis. First one was about Mr. Incredible. The second one was about the Mrs. And so now the third one is going to be all about the kids. So I think that's kind of a proper way of I don't know if this is necessarily going to be the trilogy to end everything, or obviously I'm pretty sure it'll go on for a while, but that's probably the one that I am excited for probably the most outside of all the Marvel stuff. Like all the Marvel stuff is just a give me at this point. Like you throw Marvel out there, like I'm gonna see it.
Yeah. I want to say that I'm surprised that there isn't an Incredibles TV show. I'm very surprised by that. It just feels like the kind of property that, like,
It would work.
for as popular as it is and was, it just seems like they're missing something with not doing that in some way. But make us wait a lot of years between films. Why don't you? Cool. You know what? Jokes hook me up.
Number 2.
Now, jokes.
Mm-hmm.
I think this will make like 3 weeks in a row we have talked about Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, dog. I'm not thrilled about it. I might have been a little thrilled when I heard that they were canceling the new Power Rangers. I guess it was a reboot.
From what I understand, it was supposed to be like a reboot of everything. They were. It's been very vague about what it was going to actually be, but at the end of it, it seemed like they were just essentially rebooting it once again.
All right, so here's the thing. The word on the street is that while many people were upset at the announcement that it was being canceled, and mind you that this was like announced along with all of the other things that they were like, we're not doing Wonder Man, we're not, like, you know what I mean? It was along with all of that, and I'm gonna say kind of got swept up / lost in the backlash that was like Disney is canceling all the black-led projects. And so I think this, even though it was a big thing to a lot of people, it was just kind of in there with that information.
Yeah.
And a lot of people really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it just because of the way the news cycle ended up working. But based on what people have managed to figure out, apparently at this point, it would appear that Matt Damon is working on a new show that is very Power Rangers like. And that it is because this show is in production and it is an exclusive Disney Plus show. That is why they decided to scrap the Power Rangers show that they had already in play. What do you think, Jokes? You think there's any truth to that?
It could be. And I'm just trying to think, if Matt Damon is trying to do something in that realm, it's like, what are we doing? Like, there's two sides to the Power Rangers. Like, obviously, if that's the case, whatever. There was a part of me that also was like, maybe where they were thinking about doing the reboot, which of course entails, completely shooting everything from scratch versus doing the traditional, obviously importing the footage from Japan for Super Sentai and whatever corresponding season, which cuts down on a lot of the stuff because you're not having to worry about extra shooting because you already have all the stunts being performed already that you're just essentially yanking and dubbing over for it. So a part of me is kind of like, if maybe they were going to ditch it to go back to the original formula, maybe so.
Okay.
But the fact that Matt Damon is remotely working on something that is similar to Power Rangers is kind of like, it's interesting, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, is he going to be like? I don't see Matt Damon by any chance shouting out something to have a suit show up on him, or maybe he's like a Zordon or something. I don't know, but like it doesn't surprise me. I feel like absolutely that could be a thing, and I feel like that goes for any type of projects. When you learn that there's something being made that is like an equivalent or almost a similar thing, it's kind of like, do we really want to go ahead and release something? And then now we have this comparison thing. And, because the thing is, if Matt Damon's thing does really well and, checks a lot of boxes that the Power Rangers would do, it's going to be like, hey, yo, this Matt Damon joint is actually better than what the Power Rangers are. Which could be a thing, because with Matt Damon's name behind it, I can only imagine what a budget and things can be like behind that versus the Disney Plus budget that the Power Rangers would actually get. So
I'm going to read from the report where this basically came from.
Yes, J. Robert Dean's Disney was absolutely doing Power Rangers.
Well, they were. Not they are doing Power Rangers. And so therein lies a lot of what kind of makes sense about this. So according to, there's a report called the Snyder. It's a guy who just has a lot of inside information, what have you. And according to him, the upcoming sci-fi film from the Daniels, so this is Matt Damon teamed up with the team that did Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh.
And it is, as quoted, heavily inspired by Power Rangers, featuring a young cast in color-coded costumes who team up to fight kaiju with the help of a superhero-esque character played by Matt Damon. Sandra Oh is reportedly playing a Jarvis-like AI assistant who supports Damon's character through, though unconfirmed, it falls in line with previous reports which described it as a superhero-adjacent feature that blended several genres, much like Everything Everywhere All at Once. The latest report goes hand in hand with the previous description of the film from Damon himself. While he remains secretive about the plot, Damon revealed in a recent interview that the Daniels pitched the project as The Breakfast Club meets Inception, meets an anime film, meets an episode of The John Oliver Show that didn't get aired, with the project featuring a young cast reportedly sporting color-coded costumes.
Well, that sounds like Power Rangers to the T. Really on there.
It does. But it also is one of the things, when you think about, if this is a thing that is being pitched and Disney picked it up and they have some rights to the property, versus with Power Rangers is owned by Hasbro. And so Disney doing a deal with Hasbro to get a new Power Rangers project off the ground, even though Power Rangers already has cachet. People know the name, they know who they are. At the same time, if you're rebooting it, I think it has a much higher chance of getting rejected than it does if it was just like, this is another Power Rangers show with a different group that, you know what I mean, doesn't redo the lore or, you know what I mean, change things up, which is what I feel like they would be attempting to do. I think Disney would be attempting to help Hasbro introduce the Power Rangers to a new audience that they could then continue to grow it with. But with Disney, with them not having ownership over the IP,
it changes. Yeah, it
from a
changes a
business
lot on there.
standpoint, it would make more sense for you to put the money into the Matt Damon thing, even if you take a loss on it, than it does for you, and it's your own thing that you're putting the money behind, than to
Hmm.
put your money behind a thing that if it takes off and does well, somebody else still has ownership of it and can technically take it from you in
Hmm.
some manner at any time, which Disney knows all too well based on dealing with Spider-Man and the Hulk and
Yeah.
the X-Men and whatever else. So, doing those kinds of things to kind of make deals with other people's IPs, which is not a thing that they are not like they're doing like an Ella Enchanted show or something like that. That's not a Disney IP. Like they've done
Right.
deals with other people recently to bolster what they have on Disney Plus.
Hmm.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I guess just if you're gonna have, I don't think Ella Enchanted stands as a strong enough thing on its own. Not the way Power Rangers does. Like they don't
Yeah.
do Ella Enchanted conventions, bro. It's not, you know what I mean? Like it's
Agreed.
not a thing. It doesn't kind of
And
have like the
yeah,
sick
and I think another thing
following.
that plays a little bit of an issue too, um, like I was just talking about, like if they were to try to go on and do like a new, Super Sentai, just grab the footage and all that. Technically, technically at this stage in the game, Super Sentai does not exist anymore, and they don't have a current series in production. So even if they were to, there's a few series that are out there that they could go back and pull from to create if they wanted to do that whole entire thing. But with them
I
shifting,
don't think that was the plan at all. Like
mhm.
my understanding of what this quote unquote reboot was supposed to
Oh no, it
be
was supposed to be
was
a reboot. Yeah, it was all
all
fresh, brand new,
new
starting over. Yeah, yeah.
everything. So there's no going
My
back and
thing was
pulling
just
off
like,
footage
if
or
they would change up and go back to, like, if they wanted to go back to that realm, there's nothing to pull from currently right now.
right.
Like, they're trying to redo the whole branding of Super Sentai. Like, it's a new Metal Hero series that they're doing. It's closer to being like Common Rider and like Space Sheriff Gavin and things like that versus the typical 5-person team up that we're going to do. So right now, like, there wouldn't even be anything that they could truly pull around. So a reboot made sense because it was all going to be fresh. But
I don't even
honestly,
necessarily know that it would completely be a reboot as much as my again my understanding. I say reboot just because from what I can gather, the
mhm,
idea was we're going back to Angel Grove with the original five
5
Rangers,
Rangers. And
but
honestly, I
that
don't want
we're
that.
wait, but that we're going the realm of the comic books where those stories are
Okay.
continued on, and there are plenty of stories that haven't been told in live action
Yeah.
that do exist in the comics, and the comics have been what Boom has been doing with them and so forth in the
Has
comics
been
has been
epic.
really great. So the idea of them going that route, I could certainly
Mhm.
see it. Like I could see that working without being like, well, we're just gonna go back and redo the stuff that was already done. We're gonna
Done.
maybe
Right.
continue the story of those Rangers and tell stories that haven't been told before. But I'll be honest, I probably would much rather see it animated.
Agreed. Like, I remember when that was a thing. Like, they had pitched already, and there was like a preview of an animated series for Mighty Morphin, and it
Yeah,
looked it looked kind of cool. Like, we didn't get much of it, but
yeah.
then that got shelved almost instantly after the that little small preview came out. But I would rather take an animated 3D, whatever you may want to do, because you just have a lot of easy with freedom and things that you
Not
can
3D.
do. Uh,
Not 3D.
when I
Not
say
3D.
like CG, let me say like CG type.
No, nah, you wanted to look like Beast Wars. We just can't have that.
No, 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 no. Like, no, we're not gonna do that. But I would take anime. Then yes, I would take animated and go from there because it just makes things easier. You can make things work a lot more. You can. I feel like you can stretch the series out a lot further because you're not having to worry about people aging out of the characters that they're in and all that type of stuff. So, and I think animation for Power Rangers would suit it very, very well.
I think it would be great work for a lot of the original live action Rangers to be able to reprise their roles, but from a voice acting standpoint, it could be really, really cool. Anyway, look, we'll see what Matt Damon is up to. He has the Odyssey right now. He ain't got to worry about that.
Ain't gotta worry about that.
Yeah, he got this project can fail money anyway. So, you know what I mean? Like
Come out
whatever.
here and he going, y'all, it's morphin' time.
Yeah, see, he better not. I'm gonna just say that now. Hook me up.
Number 3.
So as the DC universe, I'm gonna say struggles to find its footing. We had the release of the first episode of Lanterns,
Mm-hmm.
hit HBO Max. Did you get a chance to watch it?
I did.
Let me say this. The first episode, it's like an hour long.
Mm-hmm.
It's just under an hour. The first episode of Lanterns is better than the entire Supergirl movie. Period.
I ain't even see Supergirl, and I was like, "Hey, yo, this show is actually not too bad." I was like,
You can watch Supergirl, bro. This is the kind of thing. So let me just say that there was a time when I was much younger that I was a Green Lantern fan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't dislike Green Lantern at all. I just wouldn't consider myself like a fan of Green Lantern. When I think of superheroes, Green Lantern's not even one that comes to mind. Now, when I think of Justice League, yes.
Yeah.
When I think of Super Friends, yes. But like if I was just like naming superheroes,
I get it. Yeah.
I like it. It doesn't come to mind. Again, I don't have anything against him. I think he's cool. I think it's a cool power. I think lanterns themselves are cool. I love the idea of the Green Lantern Corps and there being a bunch of people in different sectors, not only that have these abilities or that are chosen, for whatever reason they individually get chosen, but that their ability to create constructs using their ring is all different. Like their personality and the way that they think and what they come up with in order to use the ring, I just think is a very dope concept. J. Robert Dean says that's funny. One of my faves is GL, the Golden Age version. Old, as in like when you say Golden Age, are we talking like the original Green Lantern who got his powers from an actual lantern and made himself a ring and his weakness was wood? Because
whoa,
we don't like that.
The weakness was wood?
Oh, his weakness was wood. Kind of how like lanterns now, their weakness is like yellow.
Hey, that's funny. I got this 2x4 plank right here. Come at me.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan would have beat the brakes.
Oh, that's funny. That's terrible.
Yeah. I do have look. That Green Lantern was created in like the 30s. Like
I was gonna say,
yeah. It is what it is. Cape and all, bro.
That was what
red cape.
No capes.
So this, I immediately have a different level of respect for what this show is doing because it's more like a police drama. It's a detective show. It does the thing that I like about the MCU when the MCU doesn't try to make a quote unquote superhero movie and they make a different genre of film that happens to have superpowered individuals in the film. Ant-Man. It's a heist movie. That kind of thing, right? this feels like you're watching Fargo. It
Mm-hmm.
feels like like it's different in that sense, and it doesn't have so far. It doesn't feel cheap. All of the all of the James Gunn, like, Peacemaker feels cheap.
Mm-hmm.
It feels kind of goofy. It feels like I can't tell if they're purposely trying to evoke like the idea of like 1960s Batman, where like maybe
Or something.
then it looked good, but now it's like it just feels like there's a certain level of like over the topness. It doesn't feel like it's grounded in a level of reality. And Superman,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, as a movie, did suffer from that. And I think Supergirl's the same way. I think that the effects that they choose, they look cartoony in a realistic world instead of looking like it's all part of one cohesive thing. There's
Mm-hmm.
something about the way that they choose to do that stuff that just makes it look like it's tacked on,
Mm-hmm.
even though it does look like it's tactile. So this doesn't feel quite like that. It feels more gritty. It feels much more serious. And it's only the first episode,
Mm-hmm.
but so far it might be my favorite thing they've done.
Mm-hmm.
How you feel, Jokes?
Right now I'm okay with it right now. I think the first episode did a good job of getting things, established on what it is where I'm trying to tread like what I'll say is stuff, but it gives us what we need to understand about the lanterns and what it is we're trying to do. Um, Obviously, Hal Jordan and John Stewart here both at the same time. But it said, in the trailers, typically there is only one Green Lantern, so we know he's training him to, be the backup. But I think in not trying to make it a full on superhero type thing, I think is a good move in how we do. Like, obviously, you know what, Superman, superhero, but we grounded it a little bit. But this one is more of a mystery. We're trying to solve this type of thing. Like, we don't go super ham with powers or abilities in this first episode, which I kind of like, because they could have easily, Green Lantern just goes out here and just does Green Lantern things. Like, it's very subtle in what they do.
What I think
It's
they're doing to I like I hear what you're saying. I think what they're doing, they in this show multiple times they use the words space cops.
mm-hmm,
They state that the Green Lanterns are space cops. So I feel like what they're doing is trying to establish that they're like police and that
mm-hmm,
they're going to have to do police work. Like, part of what they do is they do police work. It
mm-hmm,
is almost like establishing the detective portion of Batman and being
mm-hmm,
like, this is where Batman really gets in his bag. Yeah, you think you know about all the I can beat people up and I will fight anyone if there's a threat, whatever. But the truth
mm-hmm.
of the matter is, where Batman really gets in his bag is in detective work.
And detective side of things, and we get to see
Yeah,
that. Like, we get to see a little bit, not super a lot of it, but understanding, looking for the villain and understanding, this person necessarily looks like they don't belong here. Looking for those clues to make you feel like that. Oh, you see that laying on the ground right there? Yeah, that's from homie over there. He don't belong. Like, just those little small things, and learning that the lanterns have a boss. They're very like, you guys seem like you guys shouldn't answer to anybody, but
I mean, again,
even
it sets them apart from like what a
mm,
Superman is.
yeah,
I think that's important, right? That technically, Superman doesn't answer to anybody unless he chooses to,
mm-hmm,
and the Lanterns aren't set up that way, and that the
mm,
people on the planet don't necessarily know that or understand that. But it also does a good job of kind of establishing what we're doing and where we are. Like, the majority of the show, the majority of the episode takes place in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So we have like a 20-year jump. We have 96. We have 96. We have 2016, and we have 2026.
Mm-hmm.
Like all in this one frame. And if you've seen Superman and you're paying attention and you care at all, and there's only supposed to be one Lantern, if you have a Hal Jordan, Superman had Guy Gardner in it, and so something there has to be something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There has to be something that would explain why a Guy Gardner, and Guy Gardner is supposedly in the show, in the
Mm-hmm.
series. So we'll see where it goes. What I will say is that it is a very, very healthy first episode.
Mm-hmm.
And what that really means is that it is a strong enough episode for me to recommend you watch it, and that I'm looking forward to whatever they do in the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
If they can maintain that, they might have something here.
Could be.
They might have something here. So we'll see. That wraps it up for WHHW. What had happened was we got to move on. Jokes
Mm-hmm.
in the spirit of D23 and all things MCU. Sure, why not? It's mostly been a comic book related show today.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on Disney Plus right now,
Mm-hmm.
Disney Plus has put together a list of the 15 shows and movies you need to watch to get ready for Doomsday. Here's the list. I need to know, do we agree with this list? Do we think they missed something? Do we think all of this is really necessary? And in some cases, how could we know?
Mm-hmm.
So are we ready for the list?
Let's do it.
Okay. According to Disney and Marvel on Disney Plus, here are the films you need to watch. X-Men from 2000. X2, X-Men United. Captain America, the First Avenger.
Mm-hmm.
The Avengers. Avengers Infinity War. Avengers Endgame. Loki. Just Loki. So we're going with both seasons. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man No Way Home. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Deadpool and Wolverine. Captain America Brave New World. Thunderbolts. And Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, that's a long list. The internet says it's like 42 hours of viewing. It's a lot. But you can do it in a weekend.
Yeah.
Really,
Got enough time right now between now and December 18th. So there's enough time in there.
you do have enough time to do it all. What do you think of the list?
I think it's not a bad list. You know, as I look at it, one, I think it already establishes kind of like your character. Like we've already seen a good chunk of the cast, but I think this kind of solidifies, you know, kind of some of the people that are going to be in the movie that may not have necessarily been announced as of yet.
So is there anything in this list that you think is surprising that it's on this list as a like must watch to get ready?
I don't think anything on this list is super. Other than the fact, like Captain America: Brave New World, other than the fact of you just wanting to learn, like obviously the shield gets passed off and Sam Wilson becomes Captain America. So I guess just for you to understand that, you know, Steve Rogers is not Captain America. He was Captain America, but he's not now. I don't know.
I feel like you would know that if you watch Endgame.
Very valid. But like I don't see. But outside of that, like none of these on here. Um, Obviously, straight into Spider-Man: No Way Home. Like, don't even worry about the other ones. I feel like Doctor Strange and like the whole multiverse thing really is really the piece that we're leaning into in here than anything else.
Yeah.
Um, right into Multiverse of Madness. Uh, like none of these on here are super left field to me. Like obviously with the original X-Men showing up, the first two I think make the most sense. Like the third one, I don't think like you don't need to you don't need to see Professor X get murked off because that may confuse you on why
Well, I think
he's
part of it is that I think that film is undone by Days of Future Past.
agreed.
So
What's the point?
I think the first two films technically are canon,
Mm-hmm.
and the other X-Men films would be canon if Days of Future
Days of Future
Past
Past.
didn't undo it
Mm-hmm.
up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as a side note, jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Be real with me right now.
Uh-oh.
Is Holly Berry going to show up in Doomsday?
I think she may. Like one final time. Like obviously we're gonna as far as I'm concerned, that X-Men universe is getting murked in Doomsday.
And
So
everybody dies. Well,
eh,
by Secret Wars, yes.
but
I don't
Secret Wars.
necessarily think it's going to be gone in Doomsday, but Secret
I
Wars
feel
for
like
sure.
if she's in it, like if they, I don't know if it'll be maybe like a flashback and them talking because clearly like it feels like only a few of them are going to exist at this point. So if she does show up, I feel like it's like a flashback when they're like Professor X and Magneto maybe are having a conversation, but either that or she's on the last line of defense once again, and like what happened in Days of Future Past, she just takes that L. Um, if she's in
Is
it,
there
it's
anything
I
you
feel like it's
feel
gonna be
like,
brief.
do you think anything got left off this list?
It's crazy. Now
I
you
think there
gotta
might
make
be one thing that's left off this list.
movie or show.
Movie. Huh.
Crazy enough, you know one thing? There's no Thor movies on here.
There are no Thor movies on
There's
here.
no Thor movies on here.
And
And
considering that, like, in the trailer, in like the new trailer, they show Thor and Thor's daughter, which, like, if you're not hip, like, you won't even know that's a thing.
so that one to me, yeah. Hey,
I
listen,
said,
but
so glad I've seen them all. You know what? Me too. But it might be worth a
a
rewatch or
revisit.
refresh. We had already started doing it, so like,
Here's an interesting one from Zod Mega. I didn't see the reason to watch the X-Men. Like, I feel like
what,
with
the
some of the
first two?
characters, that's what I'm guessing.
Yeah,
First two
nah.
or the third one because there's no way you cannot revisit the first two with all of those OG characters showing back up in
Yeah.
there. So I think that's
So
a def.
I feel like, what's up, Kidlet?
What up, kill it?
I feel like maybe the first Fantastic Four film.
Ooh,
And the only reason why I say that is, one, it introduces there's a Doom in it,
mm-hmm.
but also Chris Evans as the Human Torch in Deadpool and Wolverine. So, like, if you're not hip, then when you see that, you're gonna be like, "What is going on?" Is it absolutely necessary? Maybe not, and maybe they're not including it because they don't want to confuse people with like who this Doom is or whatever. Because maybe they are just. It would be if they were completely negating those films as if they were not canon. That would be one thing, but they're not because they paid Chris Evans to reprise that role in Deadpool and Wolverine, which means they're canon. even if we don't see him. What's up,
Hey,
Adam?
what's good, man?
Um, so I feel like that might be the one thing that's missing from this. Now,
Mm.
I will say that I know that we have a change in direction
Mm-hmm.
where we were going Kang and the Kang Dynasty, and we were leaning into Owatu as a watcher, and that the What If universe is supposed to be canon and supposedly will show up in some
Ooh.
way in Secret War. But like, What If isn't on this list,
Ooh. So I
nor
guess
is the Wakanda animated
animated
show,
one.
which does have technically the Owatu does show up, quote unquote, in it, and neither is Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man,
Spider-Man. Mm-hmm.
which also
It's
has
like
an
we have to
Owatu.
talk X-Men soon.
I mean, you let me know when you're ready to do it, Adam, and we can get down and talk X-Men soon. Um,
I
I
feel
like
like
the list.
those. Yeah, I think those are solid, but I think the ones you just rattled off, especially the animated ones, I feel like probably would play more to Secret Wars. I feel like because like
Right.
Battle World and all that, I think those would probably be a little more important at that stage in it. Clearly, this one is going to establish Doom as being at least the big bad
Yeah.
for a period in this movie.
What do you
I
think the
s-
most important thing on this list is to watch? I'm just going. I'm gonna rattle it off again.
I actually
X-Men,
pulled it.
X2, Captain America: First Avenger, The Avengers, Avengers: Infinity War, Avengers: Endgame, Loki, Shang-Chi, Spider-Man: No Way Home, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Deadpool and Wolverine, Captain America: Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four: First Steps. Not even Brand New Day is on this
Yeah, not
list.
even Brand New Day.
Which
Uh,
again, you can't do that on Disney Plus, and you have to remember that like this is when
yeah,
you go on to Disney Plus, this is the like
gives you
get
all
ready for
that.
Doomsday with the countdown and everything for it. So
You know, I'm gonna say probably like obviously with this Doom. Clearly now, there's clearly this Doom is from the same universe as the Fantastic Four in its current
sure,
iteration. So I feel like even though obviously that one's a given, I feel like maybe like Multiverse of Madness, crazy enough. Like I feel like this is
hmm,
going to be the last pieces of the whole multiverse thing. So obviously by the end of Multiverse of Madness, you know, Strange has gone off because something bigger is happening and I'm wondering if maybe he's
yeah,
already starting to deal with whatever is happening, like why Doom has managed to come over. Like I feel like maybe that one's going to have a little bit more of a play into it.
you think Charlize
Obviously,
Theron is showing up in Doomsday?
I feel like she may show up. Like,
Okay,
that clearly because by the time that was a complete throwaway at that point of it, but I feel like maybe she'll show back up. I think that, and I think Loki. Like, I listen. I know with the whole Kang thing, that was going to be really the direct play, but I feel like with Loki being, you know, the god of time and everything now, I feel like that's probably going to be something with him being able to watch and see everything that's going on in these different timelines and the branch timelines. I feel like he's probably going to have the eyesight to a lot of these things, and maybe whether it's a solution or whether it's just a warning that it's like, hey, listen, you know, things are about to get bad and y'all are not going to be able to be all together. Something. I feel like
mm-hmm.
because he's probably the one out of everyone outside of Doctor Strange that would have the biggest eye on the grand scheme of what's going on.
Loki, I think, is the most important thing on this list. It's the longest thing. It's 2 seasons of a show. The episodes are relatively long. The story gets
Yep.
very
That's it.
convoluted if you're not paying attention. Adam says or Multiverse of Madness, but I'm still going Loki. Yeah, I think Loki is the most important thing on this list. Um,
From K Dizzle, go
all day,
birds.
K Dizzle. I'm not allowed to say it. You know what I mean? Fly Eagles fly. What I will say is that oh yeah,
Yeah,
we saw
I'm
that
saying.
already. I think Fantastic Four is probably important.
Mm-hmm.
If you could only do like 3 things on this list, I would do Infinity War, Endgame, and Loki.
Agreed.
Those
Because
that's where I'd get. And
supposedly this is supposed to take place, like whatever extra scene or whatever it is they're supposed to do at the end of the re-release of Endgame. Clearly, this is, depending on how that picks up, is going to be a direct.
well, the only other thing that I think, like looking at this list, right? If you looking at the trailers for Doomsday, what's up, Lisa?
What up? What up?
Looking at the trailer for Doomsday, Namor is probably the only character in the Doomsday trailers that looks like he plays a prominent role in this that you would be like unfamiliar with if you haven't seen
Black Panther 2.
Black Panther 2. Like, then you might be like, who is this?
Mm-hmm.
Where did Slim come from? So, like, if you're unfamiliar with that, then I could see him showing up in Doomsday and somebody being like, who is that? Why are they there?
Yeah.
But I also think, side note, that Captain America Brave New World might be more important than you think. Only because it sets up Thunderbolts, which is clearly a thing.
Yep.
But Red Hulk, I think, is going to be... I think there's a thing. I think there's going to be... We don't know... I don't want to spoil Spider-Man for anybody who hasn't seen Spider-Man. But I think that wherever the Red Hulk is going to be related to Spider-Man, which is not on this list. But again, obviously, you can't watch that on Disney Plus right now, so that's not a part of the list. But Captain America Brave New World, I think, is going to be important to the list partially because of Red Hulk. But it remains to be seen.
Mm-hmm. Listen, going into Secret Wars, you need all the heavy hitters, and listen, Red Hulk may be a good addition to the team wherever you may be at.
I don't even know. Red Hulk is on
J. Robert Deans. Yeah, we haven't yet to see Spider-Man. Oof.
Yeah, I highly suggest fixing that. Red Hulk is on the rack. And I think any other number of super villains / some heroes are
may still
probably
be there.
also on the rack. Meaning that we might need to go get folks out of there when it starts to go down.
Hey, that'd be funny if, somehow, Deadpool, makes it into like MCU, like that's where he's at. Like, we found this dude that like apparently doesn't belong here. This dude will not shut up.
They couldn't lock Deadpool up if they tried, bro. What are you talking about? Like, that's not happening. Not even. I wanna change the directions real quick. D23 also announced they dropped the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And while we've gotten away from watching trailers on this show because the powers that be at YouTube love to come down on the trailer viewing, we need to watch this.
Watch this one? Cool.
Yeah, we need to watch it. While he's getting that together, look, y'all let me know in the comments which of these movies you think, or what movies you think they left off this list that might be important to preparing for Doomsday.
Oh, hey, J. Robert Dean. But would Ford continue to play the Red Hulk, or would they have to replace him with Terrence Howard?
That's enough out of you. Listen, let me tell you something. If Terrence Howard comes back in this joint as a variant, I'm with it.
Dog, if they can bring him back as War Machine just for a second, hey, he go, man, I don't know what
so with it. I mean, again, we're not getting Armor Wars, so
at this point, yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
All right, bet.
Brings back memories. Huh? Wait, what happened?
He's been forgotten. When there's no one left in the living world who remembers you, you disappear from this world. We call it the final death. Hey, it happens to everyone eventually. Come on, De La Cruzito. You got a contest to win.
Jokes, have you looked at this?
What color is the sky? Ay, mi amor, ay, mi amor. You tell me that it's red. Ay, mi amor, ay, mi amor. Where should I put my shoes? Ay, mi amor, ay, mi amor. You said put them on your hand. Ay, mi amor, ay, mi amor.
This is Quadratum.
They're asking for Dandelion Dispatch.
Jokes, this joint looks incredible.
It does. Listen, the cutscene, even with some of the gameplay that's thrown in it, it looks amazing.
Bowie! Behind
I haven't
you!
even finished the story yet, just for being so confused when that thing started. So
Whoa!
Welcome to the Plaza de la Cruz.
Those little Coco Keyblade.
Yeah! Yeah! It's showtime!
This is a lot of new information. I bet I'll find a clue to saving Sora now. Huh?
It almost makes me want to play it. Almost.
When folks disappear above, is this where they always end up?
But Sora isn't here.
Wow.
Yeah, Goofy got hands.
I'm just looking at this. I feel like they've definitely done some improvements in the battle system.
Sora!
I think
Something wrong?
I don't know.
What can
the
you
battle
see?
system to me wasn't that
Sora! Hey!
Whoa.
Whoa! Here's a surprise. You're looking pretty good for an old coot.
I mean,
Strelitzia! Sigurd!
can this be the last one, Joe?
Nope. I feel like we'll get another one in another 10 years.
Sora,
Can't be the last one.
wake up and see.
That though was what blew me. I was like, ooh.
Late 2027. Why? Why does that bother you?
I don't know. I felt like it was going to be a little bit sooner than that.
I just think they got a lot of announcements left to make. You know, they usually do like 3 announcements for Kingdom Hearts. Like when they announce the different worlds. Obviously, this one they did a Coco trailer, so announcing that world is in this. But we're like in like New York, bro. They got to do Marvel, bro.
It has.
We talked about this last week.
Yeah,
they got to do Marvel. It looks cool, bro, but I'm not buying this. Like, I'm not getting this game unless Spider-Man's in it, bro. If Spider-Man's in this game, I'm getting the joint.
I'll let you know. I'm probably I'm gonna try. Like, I have the first collection that they had released, and I bought the third one when it came out. So I'm probably I'm probably gonna play through 2 again, because just when I played 3, like after hadn't played in so long, there was just so much references to the second game that I was just like, I have to stop. Because it takes a lot for me to just be lost in like what the story is, but because it plays so much off the second one, I was like, I gotta stop.
I don't think the story matters at all. in Kingdom Hearts. I know it does matter to some people, but I just feel like
and I'm not going and filling in the gaps.
You know what, George, you might be right, because maybe that's the issue that I had with 3. Because I just don't care. Like, I played the first one, didn't get into the second one, definitely didn't mess with any of the like Game Boy and all the 1.2.5.
When they started doing all, I think I played 1 or 2 of those, and then when it was just like, yo, these things are just gonna keep coming out, and we're gonna expand the story, but yet we're gonna change things, but we're gonna keep things the same and do all this, and I was just like, what are we doing? And then when all those numbers started getting 3.5, 0.6, point what, I'm just like, okay, I'm done. I'm out. I can't.
I'm just saying, jokes. By any chance, did you see well, hold on, before we do that, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the unfortunate passing of Hayden Panettiere, who was a prominent voice from Kingdom Hearts, voice Kairi. And I think it was both the first and second game. You know, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge it. We're talking about Kingdom Hearts, and you know, she just passed away like yesterday. So I do want to take a moment to acknowledge that. I know a lot of the fans and a lot of people are very upset, and there's still some mystery around exactly what happened. She was very young at 36 years old. So, you know, I do want to acknowledge that. Rest in peace to Hayden. I didn't want to just move on from that without taking a moment to acknowledge that. But jokes. I think you know how I feel about Legos.
I think so.
There's a lot of them around here. Did you see the Batmobile they announced?
I did.
Right? Jokes, listen to me. Hold on. Let me just say. Look, and again, I know that people think I hate Batman. It's not true. Look at this joint, bro. Let me just say, as far as I'm concerned, this is the real Batmobile.
The price isn't super crazy, like comparison to some of these up.
I don't care. Jokes, I don't care. I already have one. I don't have this one, but jokes. This joint splits apart. Do you see this?
Oh!
Splits apart into the end, bro. Bro.
Hey, that makes you need 2, because you want to have the Batmobile setup as the normal one and be able to split.
I almost said that joke. Almost like I think I need 2 jokes. This is crazy, because as far as I'm concerned, this is the real Batmobile, and it's not that I don't have. I actually do like the '66 Batmobile. I kind of like the Tumbler. I have the Batmobile from the Batman, which is I like
with
it.
The grappling hook.
I actually have 2 of those, to be honest, because I have the smaller version and I have the larger Technics version with the moving motor and the light and all of that. Bro, that joint looks like a really skinny train. I'm just, you know, listen, jokes. They're getting in the way right now. And I mean, look, I don't care about Star Trek as much as you do, but I want that bridge set. I'm not even gonna hold you.
Hey, dog, that Enterprise being in a new spot, that Enterprise may become the centerpiece of. That may be the centerpiece.
We got some building to do. There's no 2 ways about it, sir. All right, it's time to wrap the show up, jokes. We're gonna take a look at the Ahsoka Season 2 trailer as well as the new Doomsday trailer and do some minor breakdowns of those in the Put a Pin in It podcast. So look for that on Patreon late tonight or tomorrow afternoon. We do have Baltimore Comic-Con coming up in just over a month. It's also the same weekend as RisuCon. Figure it out. Everything is just stacked on top of each other these days. For some reason, Jokes, what's happening with the finisher?
Latest episode of The Finisher is up and available. Marcus and I, we have a good old conversation. For those that are familiar with wrestling, Zilla Fatu finally, after all these years, makes his in-ring debut with NXT. Obviously,
like all one word, bro.
Hey, listen, he a part of the bloodline. That's all folks really need to know. He's in the bloodline. He needs to show up. Like, eventually that's going to be a thing. And we also talk about Chelsea Green, who finally, gets her flowers in winning the women's championship, but then unfortunately breaking her orbital bone and is sitting on the cusp of having to possibly relinquish the title after just winning it. We go into a good old conversation about the two of those. So whether you guys want to watch it or listen, it is available on YouTube. It's available on Spotify and all your favorite listening platforms. So wherever you want to take a peep at it, it is available to you.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's a good listen. It's only about 30 minutes. You know what I mean? Jump in and check that out. Can we wrap it up, Jokes?
I think we can wrap things up.
Cool. Then I need everybody to do me a favor. Please live your bloopers and fix it in post. With that, we're out. Toodles and lose.
Loading snacks.
No.